It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome to the show. I am so happy you could tune in. Today's show is going to be great. My guest, Melissa Preitauer from Makana Breastfeeding, will be with us in just a bit. And I know you have lots of questions because I've been getting emails all week, so I can't wait to have Melissa answer your questions. But first, sad news this morning. I just listened to the news. It makes me really sad that Maya Angelou passed away. For those of you that don't know her, she was a terrific poet, writer, woman, had the most wonderful messages, wrote poetry for many of our presidents when they were elected, and I don't know her personally, but I have to tell you, I have a lot of her books. You know, one of her most famous, When the Caged Bird Sings, she just was such a wonderful human being. To me, I wish somebody that you would want to sit down and have a cup of tea and some cookies with. Anyway, heartfelt wishes to her family. So heard that this morning. Also, I hope you all had a great holiday weekend. I know many of you had rain, but as long as you were with family and friends and creating some good memories, who cares about the weather? I know I had a really nice weekend and can't believe it's almost June. Most of our schools here in Arizona are already closed. We get out pretty early, but we also start pretty early, the end of August. And I have to tell you, it's supposed to be 109 here today, and it's getting a little hotter, but I'm not going to complain. I promised I wouldn't complain. I'll try to do my best unless we hit 115. What else? I do need to tell you something interesting about me that happened yesterday. In Arizona, we do have scorpions, and scorpions sting, and it hurts, and sometimes you get numb. And unfortunately, I've never been stung by a scorpion. But the reason I want to mention this is because for new moms, dads, you're overtired, you know what, you're sleep deprived. Yesterday when I was pulling out of my garage, I saw this thing on the floor, and I probably have only had 2 scorpions in my house since I've lived here. You know, usually in the areas that are developed in neighborhoods, you don't get them. It's more like in the mountains. But anyway, I saw this thing on the floor, and it looked like it was a piece of carpet, and I was going to pick it up and throw it away, and I was in a hurry, and I thought, nah, you know what, I'll pick it up later, just trash when I come back. Anyway, I came back, and fortunately, I looked down, and I am sorry I didn't take a picture. This was a huge scorpion. And I know had I bent down and picked this up in my hand, I would have gotten a terrible sting. And I'm mentioning this again because always pay attention, even when you're so tired, and I know your babies get you up a lot during the night, and even your toddlers. You know, pay attention. If you're going to ever pick something up off the floor, don't just put your hand down there. Take a look and see what it is. You know, and don't let your little ones, especially toddlers, they're so inquisitive. Don't let them touch anything either unless you're watching them. So I thought I would just share that story, let's see what else we have today. We do have some recalls. First recall is children's pajamas were recalled by Empress Arts due to the flammability standards. The pajamas failed to meet these standards, and they pose a risk of burns to children. Also, Lakeshore Learning Materials recalled the bristle builders for toddlers' play sets. The base of 3 animal figures can detach, posing a choking hazard to young children. Boy, Lakeshore recalled their magnets a couple weeks ago. That's on my website. Also, Nantucket Distributing recalled felt Easter baskets. Decorative beads on the Easter baskets can detach and pose a choking hazard to children. I know it's not Easter anymore, but sometimes when you eat all that candy, you put things into store. They make great storage. So I will put those on my website, babyinstructions.com, and also my new website, mybestparentingadvice.com. There were a couple things I wanted to share from my book, Help! My Baby Came Without Instructions. We're going to be talking all about breastfeeding today. and new moms. And, sometimes you're not quite sure if you're doing it right or, if the baby's getting enough milk. So I can't wait for Melissa to answer all these questions. But I want to share a couple things from my chapter on I'm a new mom and don't know what to do. Survival 101. First of all, don't forget to eat. When you're a new mom, make sure you eat. Not only does it give you lots of energy, it helps you produce more breast milk. It makes you happier because you have the fuel to go on because you're not getting the same amount of sleep. So, ask somebody, ask your husband, your partner to make you a sandwich and just put it in the refrigerator or even a yogurt. And on that note, also, don't forget to drink. Drinking water will help you with everything. Again, you have to stay hydrated. It's so important all the time, not just when you're a new mom. I tell my new moms every time the baby drinks, whether it's a bottle or breast, drink a glass or two of water. Put some bottles of water around the house so you have it right there if you drink bottled water. And lastly, from my chapter, and there's lots of other tips, and this is Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, and you can order it from my website, from Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, babyinstructions.com. But lastly, if you feel like crying, sometimes a good cry is all you need. Give in to those tears because transitioning into motherhood is not easy. So it's okay to cry. Don't feel like you have to be super mom. So those are my tips for my book this week. A couple things that were interesting I wanted to share. First of all, there was an article in USA Today in May, said USC swift rise in SIDS risky behavior. 1 in 5 moms share bed with baby despite the dangers. That's a lot. And there's been a 20-year campaign to reduce SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. None of us want to think about that, but they just had the Pediatric Academy Societies had a big meeting in Vancouver and found that bed sharing, which makes infants 3 times more likely to die from SIDS, and infants who sleep alone were compared. The highest were the Hispanic mothers, and Black mothers and white mothers were last. Bed sharing is definitely on the rise, which really surprised me because I thought that, we talked about that so much in the last 20 years. But anyway, that's what this article says. Based on the new data, it says just 9%. This is good because 9% put infants to sleep on their stomachs. So back to sleep campaign is really working. Always put your baby on their back. Also, make sure they sleep on a firm surface and don't put anything in that crib. They don't need stuffed animals. They don't need blankets. If they're going to be cold, put them in a sleep sack with a zipper, preferably the one that zips from the top down so that little zipper isn't poking their throat. And keep babies away from smokers and people that, any place where there's smoke. That is just so risky. So if you are thinking about doing bed sharing, they have wonderful co-sleepers where the baby is in their own little crib next to you. It's not actually a crib. It looks, it's more like a little bassinet, but it's right next to you. It's so dangerous. You know me, I give my opinion. I agree. Bed sharing is not great, but, if you want to have the baby in the room with you, look at the co-sleepers. There's lots of great ones. Also, speaking of babies, there was an interesting article in Media Planet that talked about budgeting for your baby. And I wrote an article about what you really need. It's also in my book. What do you really need for baby? Check out babyinstructions.com. The article's on there, and I will put it on my other website, mybestparentingadvice.com. First of all, make a list of the essential things you think you need. And if you're not sure, ask your friends. And shop around. Online is great. I know so many new moms that order their diapers online because the prices are better and they bring them right to the door. Especially, I love Amazon Prime. I don't get diapers anymore, but, you have what you need in 2 days. Also, discuss your child care options ahead of time, and if you want to put your baby in a particular preschool when you go back to work, make sure you get on that waiting list. Some of them have tremendous waiting lists. Evaluate your health and life insurance coverage before you have the baby and go into the hospital, or if you're going to have a home delivery. Also, parents don't always remember this. Work with an attorney and explore software that will create a will, because your will changes when you have a baby. And last but not least, start thinking about retirement and college and putting a little bit of money away every month. look at Roth IRAs or look at your company's matching, your 401k. It's never too early. And schedule a regular money meeting to review where you are. So I thought that was very interesting and so important. When you have a baby, because you really don't know how much it's going to cost. Also, there's an article on my website about how much it costs when they turn into toddlers. So, take a look and think about all those things. And also, don't forget to listen to all the other great shows on TogiNet. We have shows on everything. I am so excited. When I take a walk or if I'm at the gym, I always plug in a podcast or listen to a live show because we have so many topics. I just love the TogiNet family. You're all wonderful. Thank you, Casey, the producer today. I wouldn't be here without you guys. So, check us out. So we are going to have a break in just a few minutes. I want to tell you a little bit about my guest, and we will talk to her when we come back. Her name is Melissa Preitauer. She is a lactation consultant and has been helping mom and baby couples from all over the country for 9 years. She is international board certified lactation consultant and accredited La Leche League leader, and also very experienced. She has 2 children, 9 and 6, and she answers breastfeeding questions from pregnancy through weaning and everything in between. Melissa has a huge passion in helping families reach their breastfeeding goals, to help you create a plan that works best while providing that support. And I have to tell you, this week I have gotten a number of questions about breastfeeding to ask Melissa because you don't know, and I think one of the scariest things when you breastfeed, and I'm sure she will talk about this, is that you can't tell how much the baby is eating. And especially if you're a first-time mom or, even second or third, you can't really gauge it except, I tell parents, look at their weight, see if they're happy, make sure they have wet diapers, dirty diapers. And if you pump, yes, you can tell more, but even so, you can't tell when the baby's nursing. So she will weigh in on that when we come back, and so many other things. I'm going to share all the questions, and you can call us at 877-864-4869 if you have a question for Melissa, or you want to say good morning, or you want to share anything. I love callers, so we will be right back. Hang in. Thanks for listening.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these. Finally, a show that supports women who are in the midst of a transition in midlife. The show is Second Wind. Here's what certified coach, author, and host of Second Wind, Joyce Buford, wants you to know.
It's so empowering for women to hear about other women and their accomplishments.
We all need cheerleaders, someone who's on our side.
Second Wind is that program to help women connect with other women, hear other women's stories.
In a stressful world,
find power in those stories.
Learn to discover your passions and joys again. Create the life you want to live to the fullest. Join us for Second Wind with Joyce Buford, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Central, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network. We often ask, is that all there is? Why is this happening to me? Why am I always broke? How am I going to survive this mess? Then join Dr. Geraldine Tegeloff for Nature Spirit Speak, 7 p.m. Tuesday evenings on TogiNet.com. Geraldine is a metaphysician, nature intuitive, and prosperity coach who shares with you how she went from totally broke to living what she would call her perfectly prosperous life. Through the combination of a wealth of metaphysical knowledge and her amazing ability as an intuitive, Geraldine brings to you the secrets of her magical journey of healing emotionally, spiritually, and financially. As with the ancient seers and master teachers, Geraldine has a unique gift of being able to connect to the simple yet profound messages brought to us by Mother Nature, and happily shares these through today's note to self on her webpage, nature'sspiritspeak.com. If you need help with your journey, why not connect with Geraldine during
Springer Show. Nature Spirit Speak. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. The hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to the show. I am so excited to be here today. And my guest, Melissa Preitauer, is with us. And I would like to welcome you to the show. And I hope I'm saying your name right.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show today. Do you want to add anything to your bio? Did I miss anything?
Nope, it was just perfect.
You know, Melissa, I am actually working with a newborn family this week. The baby's only 8 days old, and mom's breastfeeding, and it's working out really well. You know, She wasn't sure what she was going to do, but I have had questions from her, and I've had emails, so I am very anxious to talk to you about some of the questions. So let's go first. Why is it important to prepare for breastfeeding? I mean, I can remember my daughter's, in her 30s. I can remember telling you have to rough things up with a washcloth and do all these things. Have things changed, or is that the same?
Yes. That's kind of a myth that we have to, prepare our nipples. I think the biggest reason to prepare while you're pregnant is really that, breastfeeding it's not as popular, I guess, or we're not as exposed to it as we used to be before formula came around, and, where we used to have mom and grandma and aunties and cousins that breastfed all over, and we could see it. It was just a normal thing to do. And these days we don't have that kind of support around us. So it's really important to, take a breastfeeding class, get a really good comprehensive breastfeeding book that covers from, going into labor and delivery all the way to weaning, just because we're just not exposed to it like we used to be.
So
and it is a natural thing for sure, but there's also just that we don't have all of the support around us like we used to. So it's we have to create it for ourselves.
Basically, to prep for breastfeeding, you take classes. You don't have to do anything to your body to get ready.
No. Your body prepares itself during pregnancy. All of the changes in your breasts and your nipples. The biggest thing is the reason why I think they say, toughen up your nipples is because in the beginning, we have to work at latching the baby on, and it's not necessarily just an easy thing that comes naturally. So if the baby's latching on and it's not a good latch, then that causes pain. So the idea around that was, if you're toughening up your nipples beforehand, then that'll help lessen the pain. But really, it's all about the positioning and latching the baby. If there's pain, there shouldn't be any pain. If there is pain, then that usually tells us that the baby's not latching on correctly. So.
No, I'm so happy you said that, because I can remember when I had my daughter. It hurt. I was crying. She was crying. Obviously, I didn't know you. I wish I did, because it wasn't quite working out the way I thought. And I didn't know. Also, do you think things have changed, in our society? There, for a while, there was such a big deal to breastfeed in public, and, people were doing things, they were saying bad things to mother that were nursing when they were out. Do you think that's changed at all?
I think it is. I think it is shifting towards, I think moms are really knowing how beneficial breastfeeding is, and even dads are on board much more these days. They realize how healthy a baby is when they're, just breastfed, and that there's less doctor bills, there's less sicknesses, it's cheaper. I mean, it's free. That's always a big selling point for dads. But so I think that it is leaning towards that. Plus, it's such a new science where the research around breastfeeding is so new, and they're coming out with all of these amazing studies that tell us how amazing breast milk is, with all of the antibodies, and it's just such an amazing substance for a baby, and it's species specific, so it's meant for your baby. And the thing that's so amazing about breast milk is that it changes specific to your baby. Your milk is made for your baby. So as your baby is being exposed to outside environment, germs, and that, your breast milk will change to meet your baby and what your baby needs to, build that immune system. So it's pretty incredible stuff. So I think that moms just society in general is realizing that. So that is changing. And breastfeeding in public, I think it's still a work in progress for people to be comfortable with it. You hear a lot of stories here and there about moms being kicked out of places, or, airlines having issues with moms breastfeeding and on flights and things like that. So there's still a lot of work to be done in that department, I think. But I think it is changing, and moms are getting stronger in a sense of just doing it so that others can see it, and that realizing that it really isn't a big deal. And there are ways to breastfeed in public that you're not just completely exposing yourself.
And most moms do that. Most moms do not just sit there not covered up. There's all kinds of pretty covers, but I think we do have to say here that not all moms can breastfeed, and I think it's really important to know about it. And I think this is just my opinion. I think everybody should try it if you can. But what about if you can't? And also we've been told that if you at least do it before your milk comes in and the baby gets the colostrum, they'll get more antibodies. Is that true, or is that
absolutely?
A myth?
Yes, colostrum's considered liquid gold. They call it your baby's first immunization.
Well, say what it is. You know what? Say what it is, because my listeners may not know what that word means. Colostrum.
The colostrum. Colostrum is it's the first milk that comes in. So it's when your milk comes in, they call it mature milk. So colostrum is the initial milk that comes in, and then you hear about moms they say, oh, whoa, my milk just came in, and they feel very full, and you'll actually start to hear the baby doing a lot of the big suck swallowing. When it's colostrum, it's very tiny amounts that the baby initially gets, but it's just the perfect amount that they need. And colostrum is full of amazing antibodies, and it has this ability to coat the intestine. So it's a very protective substance. So when the baby's, getting used to being in this brand new, crazy environment that's completely different from where it was before, it's very protective. And that's why we say it's like your baby's first immunization, because it's very protective from all of this new outside germs and things that it's being exposed to.
It's so important because kids do get sick, and I talked about ear infections a couple weeks ago, and it really does protect them. And I have to say, I really do think everybody should try it. And if it doesn't work out, and I think it's important to talk to a lactation specialist to see if it's not working, and if the baby's not latching on properly, because this is all new. And don't forget, the thing that gets to me is you've just delivered this baby, which is such hard work. And, sometimes I remember the nurse bringing Lindsay into me saying, Mrs. Lemon, it's time to nurse. And I kind of looked at her and went, are you kidding me? I want to take a nap. Go away. I don't want anybody touching my body anymore. I mean.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard.
It is. I think that, the biggest thing that I tell moms is that the sooner they can get help, the better. So as soon as they feel like a baby is not latching on correctly, or as soon as they feel like there's pain in the nipples and, something's not quite right, get help, because the sooner you can get things kind of adjusted better, the faster, things don't escalate as much. And the thing I'd like to say, too, about, whether a mom can or cannot breastfeed, absolutely, there are cases where moms can't breastfeed. Usually there's some kind of medical condition around it. But generally, most moms can breastfeed. The problem is lack of support and information, accurate information. So really seeking out help in the beginning and getting that accurate information. And that's where, even when you're pregnant, to find someone that is knowledgeable, find a breastfeeding support group even, and go in your last trimester to some breastfeeding support group is so amazing, because you're able to see real moms and real babies latching on and breastfeeding. And then you get to hear, what kind of questions brand new moms are asking. It just helps you to prepare and to really see, what it's all about. But the other key is, as soon as you're having issues, get help, because the longer you take to get help, the more the issues can kind of escalate, and then it gets to be more difficult, and then that's where moms start to give up, because they feel like it's just, it's too hard. But usually in the beginning, if you can catch things really quickly, it's just little tweaks, little things that it's a little adjustment here and there, then things can be on track and work well.
You know what, that's so important too, because the other thing is, after you have a baby, your hormones are all over the place and you want to cry. And, I've had moms say, I'm too embarrassed to ask somebody and I should know how to do this because I'm a mother. And you know what? You've never been a mother. And it doesn't mean that you should know how to do it. It's interesting too, because the positioning of the baby is really important. And like you're saying, it could be a little tiny tweak. You could put the head up a little higher, or maybe you need another pillow under your arm, or, whatever it is. That's why it's so important. And I know in Arizona, the lactation specialist will come to the house, and I know they come before you go home from the hospital. If you deliver there, they will come into your room and they will make sure that everything is okay, and you can ask your questions. Don't ever be embarrassed. I mean, honestly, new moms, like I said before from my book, it's okay to cry and it's okay to be upset. This is all part of being a new mom, and having somebody like Melissa to help you, or, if you don't live where she lives, there are plenty of lactation specialists around in every state. Absolutely. And don't ever be embarrassed to call them. Well, we're going to break for commercial in just a few seconds. And when we come back, Melissa, I'm going to ask you a couple of the questions I got this week, because I want to know the answers too. It's stumping me. I couldn't help. So we will be right back.
Great.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, I need you.
Have you ever wondered if you're normal, or why you feel distant from your partner? Then join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget on TogiNet Wednesday nights 9, 8 Central. Do you want to recreate a truly connected relationship, or wonder, how do I tell my kids about things? Join Lou Paget, one of the world's best-selling authors in the field of sexuality, a certified sex educator and sought-after expert for all media, and her renowned expert guests as they discuss anything and everything about sex that impacts our lives and our families' lives. For more on Lou, check out her website, loupaget.com. This is the show where the best experts in the field of sexuality and sexual health can finally give you the answer to that question. Join us for Sex Talk with Lou, with your host Lou Paget, Wednesday nights at 9, 8 Central on TogiNet.com.
Familia, faith, identity, tradición. Latina life is never boring, but it can be muy dramática. So how do you coexist between the old school ways of la abuela and the new school life you're creating for yourself without losing your faith, familia, identity, or tradiciones? Welcome to Living Latina with Francesca Escoto, where culture curls and curves collide in one spicy cross-cultural conversation that will leave you begging for más. Francesca tackles all the important issues, from politics to family values to religion to, you guessed connected, relationships, and men. As Chief Everything Officer at the Wow Factor, Francesca is passionate about showing women of all cultures, ages, and lifestyles how to rock what they've got with style, sass, and smarts. Be sure to join her every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for Living Latina, only on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back. I'm so happy you could tune in. I'm here with my wonderful guest, Melissa Preitauer from Makana Breastfeeding. And we were chatting during the break, and we were talking about the fact that it's important to breastfeed the first hour after you deliver the baby, even though I just gave my complaint about I didn't want anybody touching me. But I'm old. You know what? That was years ago, so disregard that. My children are in their 30s. So, Melissa, why is it important to breastfeed the first hour?
Well, I wanted to talk about it just because it really does help get breastfeeding off to a good start when you can breastfeed the baby within the first hour. And babies, right after being born, are at their most alert state, and so they're most awake, and their natural instincts to breastfeed are really, really, really high within that first hour. So having the baby put directly to your chest, skin to skin, and just allow the baby to be there, and the baby will start to show little signs that they're ready to breastfeed. They'll start, kind of bobbing their head up and down, maybe rubbing their lips on their hand, just moving a little bit more, and then the mom can bring the baby to the one of the breasts and then latch the baby on. So I just wanted to say that helps to really kickstart the mom's hormones and the bonding and just really utilizing baby's natural instincts. I would also say that just the importance of skin-to-skin contact within that first hour is so good because, if you wrap up a baby, swaddling them within that first hour, it kind of holds their hands in, and they actually use all of their senses to get breastfeeding started. They actually will use their hands, they'll feel, and they'll even smelling their hands and smelling the amniotic fluid that's on their hands helps them to kick in the breastfeeding instincts.
Wow, that's interesting. And I mean, it's really nice. I mean, what could be nicer than having your baby on you skin to skin? I mean, my God, talk about wonderful. You're just in awe, too. So
it is, yeah. And the thing is not worrying about the baby being cold because mom's body temperature regulates baby's body temperature. So literally just a blanket over the two of you, and you're good to go.
Great information. That is so interesting, especially with the hands. And, when a baby roots, like when they're turning their head back and forth, for those of you that don't have your babies yet, it always reminds me of a little bird. It's so cute.
Yeah. Yep.
But they do know what to do. So I want to ask you, I have a twofold question here from one of my moms. Mm-hmm. She says that her baby's newborn, very young, and baby only wants to nurse from one side. And she's tried, she had the lactation specialist there, and she's tried lots of things, and she's pumping the other side. But is that okay? And how often do you try? What happens is the baby will just get all worked up and crying. And I mean, I've seen this, and she doesn't want to nurse from the other side. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about that a little and answer my mom's question?
Sure. So a couple of things. Moms all over are able to actually fulfill a baby's needs, nourishment needs through one breast, and that's fine. There's many moms that just breastfeed on one side and be able to provide enough milk. But a lot of moms don't like to do that because they feel lopsided. So that's probably the,
Right.
so that it's good that she's pumping on the other side to kind of maintain and keep her milk supply up. There's a couple of things that could be happening when babies prefer one side over another. There could possibly be a birth injury, and I don't know if the lactation consultant maybe saw anything with the neck. Sometimes there's, when they're being pulled out, or if there was forceps or any kind of intervention to help the baby get out of then when they're being born, can put stress or pressure on the neck. So one suggestion is maybe to take the baby to a craniosacral therapist or a chiropractor that works on infants. And I would just suggest that, you find someone that is really experienced with it. The manipulations that they do are really, really, really gentle and but can be really effective with babies that only prefer one side, because if there is some kind of injury or tightness or pain, it loosens it up, and then they're able to nurse better on that side. Other nursing. Go ahead.
So get your baby a massage.
Basically, yeah. It's
do it
just
yourself.
loosening up. Absolutely. And a professional would be able to tell you if there is tightness in the neck. If getting the little baby massage is necessary. I think just from experience, that's pretty common when a baby is preferring one side over the other.
But
So
do you keep
the baby,
trying? Does mom keep trying every time, and baby gets upset, and then she has to do the other breast, and then everybody's upset? Or do you just say, you know what, this is what works for now, and I've had the baby checked out, and so we're just going to use one side and pump?
I think whatever works best for her and keeps breastfeeding happy is probably the best option. I would definitely recommend getting the baby checked out just to make sure you're covering all the bases.
Sure.
And then trying other positions. There's a little less common positions, like maybe a more upright position, or where mom is more laid back and the baby's on top of the mom's chest. And then, that sometimes can keep pressure off of the one side, and then allow for a good latch. So just like trying other positions, maybe not necessarily like the sideline position, but like a football hold or like a laid back position might help.
So in a laid back position, where's the baby? I'm trying to visualize this so I can tell the mom, and she's listening. If she's not listening.
So basically, it's if mom can imagine like being, if she's like kind of reclined watching TV, just like laid back, relaxed. So her neck and her head are supported. She's laying back enough to where if she has her baby on her chest, that gravity is actually holding the baby to her chest. So she's reclined enough that baby can't really move anywhere. Of course, mom's arms are there to protect the baby, but if they weren't there, the baby the gravity would be holding the baby there enough. So that's how you're reclined enough. And then the baby's rooting reflexes will kick in and will actually fall to one side or another. And then she can kind of guide the baby over to the side that the baby's not normally wanting to nurse on, and then help the baby to latch on that way. There are, I think if she Googled laid back or biological nursing, there's one website that shows kind of the positioning on that too.
That's a great answer. Also, this is a question that I got. Does the position on one side, if you're not having an issue and the baby nurses on both sides, is it usually the same on both sides? Or is it a football hold on one side? I mean, what do you find with most of your moms? Is it all different?
It really is. It really is all about what is most comfortable for mom and baby. So as long as, and honestly, it doesn't even matter what position the mom chooses. It's if the way that the baby is latching on is comfortable. So if the position, is and the baby latches on and it's hurting, then you know that that's not working. So as long as the baby's latching on and it feels good and the baby is actively nursing, so you're hearing lots of really good suck, suck, swallow throughout, a good amount of time. I don't like to tell moms to watch the clock. I like to have the moms watch the baby. So as long as the baby is actively nursing for a good amount of time and falls off the breast on their own, you know that the baby's getting the right amount and that was a good nursing session. But if the baby is latching on and it's painful, or the baby's not actively nursing, the baby's falling asleep or on and off the breast, then you know that there's an issue. So it doesn't necessarily matter what position, or even if the position changes from, one side to another. It's just that the baby is being actively nursing and that it feels okay, that it feels good.
So another question which segues right into this is, how long should I be nursing my baby? I know you said a good amount of time, but, moms want numbers. What do you see with most moms? 20 minutes, half hour? Because I know I've worked with some moms that bottle feed the babies and they'll do it for an hour, and it's like, wait a minute, you might have the wrong nipple in there.
So it really does depend on the baby. For one, some babies are really quick, efficient, fast nursers, and some babies are slower to nurse. So again, like what I was saying about watching that the baby is being is effectively nursing, so actively nursing. So the whole time the baby latches on, does a couple of sucks to get the let down, and then really starts to go at it. So suck, suck, swallow, suck, suck, swallow. That's like the pattern that you want to be hearing, and then taking little breaks here and there to breathe. As long as that's going on, some babies are really efficient. Some babies will be done in 10 minutes, and then other babies will be done in 30 minutes. But the key is that the baby is actively, efficiently nursing the whole time. And then the other part of it is that you're seeing the baby start to slow down towards the end of the feeding. Even if it's 10 minutes, there is a good amount of suck, suck, swallowing, and then the baby will just kind of start to fall asleep or fall off the breast. That's when you know that the baby's full, content, and done. And then you can burp the baby and see if the baby will take the other side. If the baby will take the other side, great. If not, it's okay. As long as that was an efficient nursing session, then it's fine.
Well, we have to actively break for commercial. We will be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Be sure to register your copy of SAM at www.spatialaudio.com. You'll feel warm and squishy inside once you do.
Are you ready to start rocking that woohoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woohoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boohoo and turn it into woohoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woohoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. The hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back. I am here with my great guest, Melissa Preitauer from Breastfeeding, and we are answering all your questions about breastfeeding. So Melissa, my next question is, how do you know the baby's getting enough? It was two questions. One mom asked, how do you know the baby is getting enough when she nurses? Because you can't tell ounce-wise. And also, how important is it to watch what I eat? Can I eat broccoli, or can I eat chocolate or drink coffee?
Okay. So the question about how to know if your baby's getting enough, really, babies are really good at telling us if there's something going on. Basically, again, it goes back to, each nursing session, we're seeing the baby efficiently nursing. That's one good sign that the baby's getting a good amount. So hearing a lot of the good suck swallowing. The other is really what goes in comes out. So as long as the baby's getting a good amount of wet and poopy diapers, so a good 6 to 8 wet diapers, at least maybe in the beginning, babies will poop a lot because they are getting colostrum, and they actually continue to get colostrum for a while and it turns into kind of a mix between colostrum and mature milk. So as the baby's still getting colostrum, they will be pooping quite a bit more. And then as they get a little bit older, the poops start to get less. And so then moms get a little concerned when that shift happens. But really it's the shift between less colostrum and more mature milk. So, as the weeks go on, getting, like a good 4 poopy diapers in a day, 24 hours is, that's the count, is within 24 hours. Then you know that what's going in is coming out. The other is that they're active, they're awake and alert. Their skin looks good, their hair looks good. There's no they're meeting their developmental milestones, they're gaining weight. Those are all, it's kind of a big picture. I think that moms get very concerned about just the weight part. And the thing to remember is when babies are born, all babies actually lose weight. And then the other part of it, too, is if mom had a bunch of IV fluids when she was in labor, those fluids have to go somewhere, and they go to the baby as well as the mom, and that needs to be, the body needs to release all of that fluid. So a lot of times babies will lose even more than that 10% when the mom has had a lot of IV fluids. And so I just want moms to be aware of that's a lot of times there's this concern, and then they want to start formula, but it's not a true accurate weight when they're first born because there's all of those IV fluids still in the body. So usually, the 24-hour weight check is more accurate when a mom has had a lot of IV fluids because it's had time for the body to release all of that fluid. But that it's just really looking at the whole picture of how the baby is doing.
Right. And what about foods, and what about a glass of wine? I heard if you have a beer, it makes the milk come in.
So it's pretty anecdotal. I mean, generally speaking, most moms can eat really whatever they want. Sometimes babies will show signs that they have a little bit of a sensitivity to maybe, most common would be dairy or wheat in their diet. But usually what will happen if a baby is sensitive to something mommy's eating, the baby will be more fussy, maybe will have skin rash or a diaper rash that won't go away. They'll be itchy in their eyes or their nose. They'll have congestion. So those are signs. And then, but most of the time, moms don't even have to worry about eating anything. Alcohol, a glass of wine here and there, is okay. The thing that happens is when you have alcohol in your system, that it's the same amount in your blood system as that gets to the milk. So you don't have to pump and dump. Usually what moms will do is they'll nurse the baby and then kind of sip on the wine. And then by the time the baby's ready to nurse again, if it's 2 or 3 hours later, the alcohol is out of the system. And so it's fine to just nurse. I wouldn't recommend, getting drunk.
Yeah, not a good idea.
I mean,
For a lot
I think
of reasons.
right, exactly. But, if you've got a party to go to, you're going to a wedding or something, and you want to just, have your glass of wine and you just sip on it all night, that's completely fine. It's totally fine. And it doesn't affect the baby in any way. And you don't even have to pump and dump. So I would just say,
Say what pump and dump is for moms that haven't had their babies yet.
So pumping and dumping is something that a lot of times doctors will recommend if a mom's on a medication, or, there is that recommendation. It's kind of a myth, though, with the alcohol, that you would pump your milk and then just throw it away. So because you don't want to get so full and engorged because it's painful, you still want to maintain your supply and that. So moms will pump and then they'll throw away the milk because they think that the milk is not okay to feed the baby. When in reality, that's pretty rare that you have to do that. Even with medications, there's medications. There are some medications that are a lactation risk, meaning that it may get to the milk and then affect the baby. But most of the time, there are medications that are a low risk that have been used on many breastfeeding mothers that are completely fine. So if a doctor's telling you you need a medication and that you need to wean on that medication, please call a lactation consultant. They have resources that can tell you, an alternative medication or give the actual facts about that medication to bring back to your doctor so that you don't have to wean. It's very rare that there's a medication that doesn't work.
Don't go online and look. Don't go to 10 sites and look. Call your lactation specialist.
Absolutely.
Because you do need the expert. We don't know. And don't be embarrassed to ask the question because how are we supposed to know?
Absolutely. And there are tons of medications out there. And, generally, doctors like to prescribe the latest and greatest, but with breastfeeding, a lot of times it's literally just switching to an older medication that's been around for a long time because it's been used, and then you actually know what the lactation risk is. And there are resources out there, and I would highly suggest any doctor's office that works with moms and babies to get Medications and Mother's Milk by Dr. Thomas Hale. It describes the lactation risk, and it also tells any risk to the baby, like any symptoms that the baby might have. And then alternatives, you can find plenty of alternatives if the lactation risk is too high.
Oh, right. Also, for moms that have C-sections, they come home a lot of times on pain medication and they think that they can't breastfeed. And that's not true.
It's not true.
I know that's not true. Okay, let's see what else. Well, let me see what my other question is. I think those were most of the questions because we've really talked about a lot. I was noticing on your website, it's great. You say that there are ailments that breastfeeding can help. Can you talk about those? Because we're getting towards the end of the show, and that's so important.
I'm sorry. So ailments as far as, so there are, a lot of times with moms, if they have kind of a chronic medical issue like lupus, a lot of autoimmune diseases, once they start breastfeeding, the symptoms are actually lowered. They're less symptoms, which is pretty incredible. And then they'll notice that, the whole time that they're breastfeeding, their symptoms are not as strong or even gone. And then as soon as the baby's not breastfeeding anymore, the symptoms start to come back. So it's pretty incredible.
That's amazing. Also, one more question. What about if you have a sleepy baby?
A sleepy baby, yes. Sleepy babies are pretty tricky. Sleepy babies it can happen a lot of times when the baby gets jaundice, or is not latching on well, maybe having issues. Sometimes there's something called a tongue tie, where the baby's, there's that little fleshy string underneath the tongue that if the baby's not able to bring the tongue out far enough, then they're not able to cup the nipple and be efficient at nursing. And so then they're not getting in the full calories that they need to keep their energy up. And then jaundice, bilirubin, high bilirubin, just makes a baby very sleepy. So with that, lots and lots and lots of breastfeeding to push out the bilirubin. Colostrum, again, has that laxative effect. So the more breastfeeding you can do, the more it will push out the bilirubin. So that's one key for a baby that's jaundiced. And then, also making sure that if you are having latching issues, usually with a tongue tie issue, mom will be in a lot of pain on her nipples, and baby just won't be efficient at nursing. So having a lactation consultant look at the tongue and the mouth structure just to make sure that everything is normal.
You know what, Melissa, I hate to interrupt you, but we're coming to the end of our show. So I want to make sure you tell my listeners how they can find you and email you a question.
Sure. You can email me at melissa@makanabreastfeeding.com, and that's Makana is Makana, and breastfeeding breastfeeding.com.
And I have your website. I have Makana Breastfeeding. Makana Feeding is awesome on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. And you know what? I hate to rush you off, but we're coming to the end of the show. I will put all your information on my website. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I know, Melinda, you had a question, so I will put the information on my website. You can either email Melissa or you can email me, and we'll answer your question. I'm so sorry we're running out of time. So, Melissa, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was great. Melissa's a true expert when it comes to breastfeeding. So I will put her information on my website, babyinstructions.com, and mybestparentingadvice.com. Next week, we're going to be talking about toddlers, and Connie will be with us with what's hot and what's not for June. You know how important that is. And, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest. My websites, again, I have all kinds of information on there. And I want to leave you with these wonderful words of wisdom. A mother is she who can take the place of all others, but whose place is one that no one else can take. Think about that. And I know those of you that breastfeed, your little miracles will get this. Whoever said there's no use in crying over spilled milk obviously never pumped 6 ounces and spilled it. So thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.